Welcome to Curito Connects. I'm your host, Jen, and I've been conversing with friends around the world about life challenges and impactful moments. Conversations on this platform look at answering the questions how we overcome challenges and how our experiences shape who we are and the work we do today. I hope this work can inspire you on your own personal and individual journey. Let's dive right in. Hello, my guest today is Taiwanese producer and co-founder of Small Island Big Song, Bao Bao Chen. Hi, Bao Bao, and welcome to Curito Connects. I'm so honored to have you sitting next to me today in person, as I am a big fan of your work and what you have created with Small Island Big Song, which I will let you introduce later. And in April, during your show in Taipei, I had the privilege of listening to the concert at the National Taipei Concert Hall, where I was absolutely blown away by the composition, the storytelling, and heartfelt frequency and vibration the musicians put together for the audience. So fast forward to today, we're in June. We're in June 2023. I was able to have a mutual friend, Ting, to connect us. So shout out to Ting, thank you. And I'm thrilled for you to be conversing with us today about how to find your tribe or build one if you can't find one. And we will cover a lot more, but I don't want to spill the beans. And I will let Bao Bao begin by introducing yourself to our audience, from your early days in Taiwan to how you started Small Island Big Song.
Wow, that's a big question. First, thank you for having me, and I'm very happy that you enjoyed our show. I am Bao Bao. I was born and raised in Taiwan. I went overseas around 21, and I'm the co-founder and producer, as I mentioned, of Small Island Big Song. And yeah, and as well as many things, like produce the documentary, curate the concert tour around the world, and being the mom of our musicians, which is the best job in the world. And yeah, but really, I just love building bridges for people, for different cultures. I think that's my the favorite thing, and what keeps me going.
So let's go back in time and let's talk about your early childhood. So you were born and raised in Taiwan, and you didn't travel, or you left Taiwan after you finished university. Mm-hmm. And what were you doing in those, in your early 20s? And illustrate for us how you went from Taiwan. We're doing this podcast in English. We're not even doing it in Chinese. So you are, and you went to local Taiwanese school, which, I didn't. But so how did you go from that environment to then, you had told me earlier before we started recording, backpacking across the world. What were you seeking then? Were you not thinking of like, oh, I should find a job, I want to do this, I want to do that? How did you kind of navigate that period of your life to then eventually meeting your husband, who's the co-founder, to starting this? It's a big question, I know, but wow. we're doing storytelling time.
Yeah. So after I graduated from uni, I was to be honest, I was very lost. I feel very lost because I studied business management, but I wasn't very keen on just money-making business. So, and I always know that I have a passion in culture, in the arts.
So
but I didn't really know.
Why didn't you study anthropology or sociology?
Yeah, but I guess that's a good question.
Okay,
I didn't know when I was, I was 18.
I could fill in a little bit because I'm assuming you kind of defaulted to business or commerce because that, I mean,
Because
in Taiwan you take a test, right?
Yeah.
To land the department or like what you would major in
Yeah,
based on your score, right?
yes, and you can put in 5 different dreams,
Subject matters
subject,
that you
yes,
want.
and the 5 of them, they're all very different. So I had like one teaching Chinese, one business management, one public health, and I happened to get the business management one. So so you can imagine I was sort of trying to explore myself, and even when I graduated from uni, I was still very lost. So I decided to give myself a gap year, although I was already 22, and I decided to go Mongolia and backpack, just on my own. With not only because I love desert, I love how throw myself in a place that is very open, that is very unknown, and that really opened up my mind about seeing the world in a very different way, and you know yeah.
So did your parents say, okay, yeah, go ahead, like head off to Mongolia and
Yeah,
make sure you come back and you're safe?
Yeah, actually, they were really
Supportive.
shocked.
Oh, shocked. Okay.
At the first, but they were really supportive, and they said, okay, if that's what you want to do, I'll support you. And I think I have a very supportive family, and my mom didn't tell me until I finished the trip that how nervous she was. She won't be able to. She couldn't sleep every day, but she just she wants her daughter to
spread her wings.
Yeah.
Spread her wings. So
Yeah.
in terms of your love for deserts, was that inspired by movies, or did you read the famous San Mao's book? Like
I didn't actually know.
Or how did you know like what? Because I mean, Taiwan's an island. We don't have deserts.
Yeah, I wonder maybe that's why I like it.
In your past life.
Yeah, probably something drawing
different.
me. Yeah. Yes. And that actually led me to Australia after Mongolia.
That's very smart.
Yeah, and I met my husband Tim, now my husband, at a music festival. My first job was picking up rubbish at this music festival, and Tim's job was sound mixer at the concert.
So you were picking up his trash, basically.
Yeah. So I keep saying, "Oh, you must throw a lot of rubbish around your mixing disc." And yeah, we met and we spent 3 weeks together. And after that, I went to Melbourne and see him, and we moved to Alice Springs together, which is in the middle of the desert in the outback. Yeah, and we spent 2 years there. Tim was doing a lot of stuff like recording and filming with the Aboriginal communities. So we will spend a lot of time in the desert, driving our 4-wheel drive for 2,000 or 3,000 K just to reach a community and do recordings. And I really, I really enjoyed that time, actually spent on the land and getting to know a culture that it was very, foreign to me.
Sorry, I had to go back a little bit again and ask you this very small question, which was when you were backpacking through Mongolia and then you went to Australia, how did you find the means to make your petty cash, right? So you just said earlier you met Tim at the festival because you were picking up trash. Like, how did you go about like figuring that out? Like just going to a foreign country that you've never been before. I don't know if at that point your English was as good as it is right now.
No, of course
right?
not.
So like, as a young Taiwanese 22, 23-year-old girl, woman, exploring the world.
Mm-hmm.
How did you survive?
Yeah, that's a good question, and that's how I actually met Tim eventually, because when I first landed in Australia, I have a very big dream and working in the art scene and in museum and then I started to I walk around and saw a lot of flags advertising the Darwin Festival. It's like their annual festival, and I went online and tried to find the official website of the festival and put together a CV very quickly saying, I've done all the right job to actually work in that festival. And I even wrote to the director, the artistic director of the festival, and saying, please hire me. And after 2 weeks, I got a call from the festival. But I couldn't even understand their English.
Oh.
Because it was so different. The Australian accent is so different to what we learn.
Which you have now.
In Australia. Yes, I picked up a little bit. Yes. And I could, of course, I didn't get the job, but after I waited for maybe a month, the guest house's owner, I couldn't even have money to pay my rent. So he said, oh, okay, I have a friend who owns a cleaning company and they're looking for someone to clean toilets, to clean people's house. Do you want to do that? And I had to say yes, because I couldn't pay the rent. And when I went into the interview, very interestingly, she said, the boss, and said, yes, you're hired and your job is to clean the toilet at Darwin Festival. That festival that I always wanted to work. And I got it eventually, but cleaning the toilet, very different to what I was expected. But I did work there, and that's how I met Tim. And very interestingly, that was
such a good story.
And very interestingly, after I got that on my CV, cleaning toilet in the festival.
Yes. What other doors open for you?
I opened. There was another festival I always wanted to go, called Warm Adelaide, in Adelaide. It's like one of their biggest festivals.
Okay.
So I applied for that the next year, and I got it.
Not cleaning toilets, right?
No, still cleaning the toilet.
Oh, still cleaning toilets. Oh, okay.
But.
And Tim was there too?
Yeah, Tim was there mixing music as well. But why I mentioned this was because this year, March this year, we got invited to go back and play at the main stage of the festival with my project, with Small Island Big Song.
Amazing.
And I still remember the day that the festival director asked me, have you been to our festival? And I said, yes, of course. But I didn't want to tell her that I was here cleaning the toilet 10 years ago.
Well, now she will know. That's what you were doing 10 years ago.
Now you know.
The secret is out of the bag.
Yes. Yeah, and I love that. And just see how much I've grown. Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I get goosebumps talking about this.
But I love it because I think even just till this point of meeting Tim, the festival, toilet cleaning scenarios, it's really about just really being open and accepting what comes, right? Because you could have said, no, I don't like, I'm above cleaning toilets. I don't
like cleaning.
Right? I don't like cleaning. But because you were open to the idea and you wanted to be at the festival, take whatever you get, right? And then see what happens. You met your now husband at the festival.
Yeah.
Then got to go to another festival.
Yeah, and that year of just doing working holiday and backpacking and around Australia, like I also picked up job like being the tour guide at Great Barrier Reef. I also did like bartending, and I got shortlisted for best job in the world from the Australian Tourism Board, and all that experience became very handy when I run my project, and also the art of money saving,
Yes.
how to survive on the road with shoestring budget, and I think that's how our project survived. Even Tim and I, we started the project with just 5,000 Australian dollars. Yeah.
So we can go into that topic, right? So now we've met Tim. We went to Alice Springs, and then now we're at this turning point where you felt like, or you and Tim didn't want to stay in Alice Springs anymore. How did you get from?
Felt after staying in Alice Springs for 2 years, we really wanted to do something different, something we can do together, something that's between Australia and Taiwan, and something has bigger meaning, something with a positive impact to the world. And when we were trying to decide what we want to do in the future, we remember the story that an elder from Vanuatu, it's an island in the island nation in the South Pacific. When we went there for making documentary, the elder asked me where you're from, and I said I'm from Taiwan, and he said my ancestors come from Taiwan.
Wow.
Yes. And I said, really? You really know where Taiwan is? You thinking about Thailand? And he said, no, I mean Taiwan. And he told me this story of how around 5,000 years ago, the ancestors of the Taiwanese indigenous people set sail, built boats, and traveled across the Pacific and Indian Ocean, from Madagascar to Rapa Nui, Easter Island, to Hawaii, to Aotearoa, New Zealand, and how these two oceans actually connected in language, in culture, in music. So when Tim and I were trying to decide what to do next, we thought about this story and thought, wow, what a story, and why there not many people actually know this. For Tim, someone live in Australia, always being told about the English history, not much about the region, surrounding Australia. And for me, growing up in Taiwan, and not even knowing that our indigenous culture actually has a bigger story. So we decided to quit our jobs within 1 month, I think, and packed our lives in our ute, like a pickup. And we left the desert and heading to the ocean.
Wow.
Yeah, with our $5,000 saving. Yes. Yeah.
Amazing. So at that point, was the idea kind of forming already? Like, so for the first album, because it's based on albums, right? And now you're working on the third album. But when you guys first started, it's kind of cool to think that you were on this island and this elder planted this little seed in your head, and how ironic that Tim is from Australia and you're from Taiwan, and you're able to make this connection so even more close to your heart. So I think even that seed planted your tribe initially for you, as you were saying earlier. when you said, "Oh, I was very lost. I was, traveling around the world. I'm not sure what I wanted to do." But obviously finding Tim and then seeing the work he was doing, then meeting the elders and kind of understanding there's a bigger meaning to the story and the history.
Yeah, and also by that time, like when I was backpacking, I was really sort of trying to find myself or what I love or what will my career path be. But when I met that elder, I felt so ashamed. Why did I just focus on myself? Like, and why every time when people ask me, "Oh, how is Taiwan?" and I will say, I will introduce Taiwan. We have bubble milk tea, we have Taipei 101, and just like all these things are so on the surface and nothing about, nothing deep. So I was very ashamed. And why this important story wasn't told, or I wasn't aware of until this elder pointed it out to me. Yeah. So when Tim and I we set out this journey, starting Small Island Big Song, we really wanted to do something sort of based on the skills we have. Tim, of course, like he can produce music, making film, putting together concerts, and he's got all the different, the creativity in him. But what he's missing is the management skill, and I won't say I have it because
Well,
because
didn't
by
you
that
have
time,
a degree in this?
yeah, but I didn't do really well in school. But somehow I just feel okay, if that's what it takes to actually make a project happen, then I have to learn. I have to pick up my skill, pick up what I've learned from school, and pick up, and I was sort of keeping the spirit, what I've learned from backpacking, the skill of being fluid, and really give it a go. Because if you really want to build a future together, really want to do something big, then yeah, it's just start doing it.
So cool. I wish more of us had as we say in Chinese, like the 勇气, right? Like the will
the bravery.
The bravery to just kind of, you'll always find ways to make it happen if you really want it, and if you really want to.
Yeah.
Pursue
Yeah,
it.
if you want something, like in a big way, then
you will find ways to make it happen, and things will align.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So how was that? I mean, now we're hitting 8 years now that you guys have been doing this for, with 2 albums out, and you guys traveled during COVID to host concerts around the world, and you did many, many things. But when you look back of those 8 years, what were some of the biggest learnings for you in terms of, going back to the theme of this topic of your tribe? Because this community that you and Tim created with these musicians and the islands and the story that you're sharing with the world is the tribe you guys created.
I think the biggest learning for me is like when I was doing backpacking, of course you meet a lot of people on the road, and you keep in touch with some people, but you don't really get a chance to do more than that, or at least in my case, but when you're building a project, or when you're building a family, I'll say this is a family, you really have to to not just begin a relationship, but actually maintain the relationship. And that itself is actually a very fun and challenging process. I think meeting people or coming together is just a beginning, but keeping us together and working together and being on the road together is a process. It's a process that everyone, if you can't find the center that everyone share, this will not work. So I think the last 8 years for me is to try to not just think about myself or the two of us, but think about this is a dream of everyone. This is, it's a family of the sum of everyone.
The sum of everyone.
Yeah.
Can you give us some examples to illustrate what you were talking about? And then also remind us the messaging about, Small Island Big Song and what you guys are really trying to create with this.
Yeah, so after back to 2015, when I said we quit our jobs and started Small Island Big Song, Tim and I, we just started traveling to different islands, recording and filming with musicians. So often we will, say, record a song in Papua New Guinea. And the musician will say, I'd like you to bring my drum beats to other islands who were also seeing coral bleaching, for example. So they all have an environmental theme. And we'll bring the beats to, say, the west coast of Madagascar, and we worked with a Vez, sea nomad musician, and for them to add a rap about their natural environment. And we'll bring the song back to Taiwan, and Saulali from Taiwan, she contributed a chant on top, and would bring the song to say Hawaii, and the local musician will listen on it and add another layer on top. So we sort of we travel with our microphones and cameras, and just creating the opportunities for these musicians to jam together, but without them meeting each other. And that was the time. That was because actually a lot of people said, "Wow, what a time wasting project you are doing," because you could have just stay in Melbourne. There's plenty of recording studio and plenty of musicians from all around the world, because it's a multicultural city, and you could have just get all different musicians, and they come in and they all create song, or they all jam on each other's song, and you create an album in a very short time. Why it took 3 years traveling to 16 different countries to actually make this album?
What was your answer?
And our answer was, if today we're talking about a story, a connection between human and the environment, we cannot take the human out from their environment. And if we're talking about capturing the vibration or the energy that is inspired by the environment, we cannot actually be in there and actually record that in person. And that is why we did it in a very stupid way, time-wasting way, as some people will say.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't say that. That is not true.
A record company will say that. I've heard people say that.
Well, of course, because, because record companies is about time and efficiency, and but that's exactly what you're trying. That's exactly what you and Tim are trying, and your family is trying to do. Like what you guys are trying to create. It's a process, and Mother Earth doesn't work quickly like that.
Yeah,
It takes
yeah,
time.
it takes time.
A child isn't born overnight. It
Yeah,
takes
exactly.
9 months. Like, so
Yeah.
it's a process, and
Mm.
for it to really have that, as you said earlier, soulful, energetic vibration and frequency,
Mm.
that's the process.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
can't
exactly.
translate that any other way.
Yeah, and
AI and ChatGPT cannot bring about that, right?
mm.
And I think having attended the concert in April as an audience member, not having known anything about what you guys were
Mm.
doing,
Mm-hmm.
you could feel it.
Oh, I'm glad you. Yeah, yeah. You
Right?
really got
And we
what
had
we.
talked about it before recording.
Mm.
I mean, there were definitely people in tears. There were definitely people very moved.
Mm.
You know, the beats and the rhythms were very catchy as well.
Mm.
That you know
Mm.
you would want to, you know, tap your feet or clap along with it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just alive. It's music that's alive.
Yeah, and I really after those years, I just when I look back, I just love those moments. You actually sit down with someone in their home with their family and have meals together, have and just share story by the fire or those very human
Moments.
connections.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you will not be able to do that if you're just quick, Yeah, and I think that's how I love about how we build these families from a very grassroots up.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
from the top
Yeah.
down.
Well, I'm just out of curiosity. I wanted to ask, how did you and Tim find these musicians to begin with?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a good question.
You you said, yeah, you traveled around all these little islands around the world, which for those who are avid travelers would know that going to remote islands is a process too. It is not easy to get flights and get on boats, etc., to get to the island, let alone knowing someone there to support you guys, you know, and then finding the musicians and bringing all your equipment, and maybe there isn't a lot of electricity to
of course,
right? So
all of
how
the
did you?
all of the above. Yes, I will say it was a very organic process, and a lot of the musicians that we tour with and we work very closely with right now, we will not be able to actually meet them if we didn't went to their country, because first they don't respond to your email.
I wonder why.
And they don't respond to your Facebook message or friend request. And and some people just they're not on the internet.
They're on an island.
Yeah.
So fun. Why would they be on the internet?
And actually a lot of the musicians we work with, they're very profile, they're very respected on their islands, but they're not famous in Taiwan or
like
Australia.
Global,
yeah.
Be outside of their community.
Yeah, so when that's actually another thing that I feel very happy about is when we met each of them, you will find, wow, this person is just like another person from another island, and when you bring them together, it's like a
family reunion.
not just that, it's like explosion. It's like, wow, each of them sometimes feel very lonely on their island, because what they're doing is not mainstream. They're very
isolated.
They're very isolated, but in the same time, they're brave enough to keep doing what they do, keep doing what they think is right, but in the same time, not making money or not being as famous as they should be.
Yeah.
Because they sing in their language, they don't sing in English.
Yeah.
They play traditional instruments. They don't play bass guitar.
Or just like the the keys for DJing now,
Yeah,
right? Like
yeah.
the whatever those are called, the beat makers.
Yeah, and when you see these musicians come together making music together,
Soul family.
yes, yeah, I would say that's
Yeah.
and you really feel they found each other.
Yeah. You connected them. You guys connected them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I guess that's my favorite thing,
Yeah.
connecting people from very far away.
But you just kind of also answered that question that record labels said to you, why wouldn't you just bring them in? It's like, how could I bring them in?
Exactly.
Right? Like, I didn't even know them beforehand or couldn't even get a hold of them, let alone like figure out how to get them, right, to come. And actually I mean, I'm again just stereotyping, but I think for most who are in remote places, not to say they don't want to explore, but there's something about the land that is just so sacred that a lot of times they don't really want to leave, right?
Yeah,
To,
most
like,
of them, they still live in their communities.
Yeah, because once you, like, let's say you get them out. I mean, now you guys move together as a family to these big festivals and concerts, so you have the synergy with each other.
Yeah.
But if you were just to get each one of them to come on their own, it's like, as we say in Chinese, like 水土不服. Like, what would the English version be? It would take them time to assimilate and adapt because there's just too much simulation, right? And so I think you just answered you gave another answer to questions like, why didn't you just get them all here and then just do it in a week? It's not the same.
Yeah, it's not the same. I think that's the beautiful thing about a project. I would say it's very rare that a group spread across so many countries, we don't live together, we don't jam on daily basis, but when we come together, say every 2 or 3 months, the music we create together is like it's so bonding, and it feels like together. It feels like we've been playing together every day, and on stage I can see it. I'm sure our musicians can feel it. It's like you throw a ball and you don't even need to worry about this ball gonna get picked up or not. It's that close.
Yeah, it's very, very cool.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful. So what do you and Tim and the musicians, all of them, what are you guys hoping this will expand into? Like you said earlier, it just started off with this small idea of like, oh, well, you didn't really know about Taiwanese indigenous culture and story and history and heritage. And Tim, having worked a little bit with, the indigenous community in Australia, but didn't realize there was this bigger story. So what do you guys hope to do with your music, further down the line in this lifetime of growing your tribe, so to speak?
It's just as I think we just want to be together. We just want to be like a family and keep that going. And I think once you have that sense of understanding with each other, we can do whatever we want. And as a producer, I really now realize that's my role, it's not to tell what the musicians should do, but amplify what they want to do. And when you think like that, I don't feel nervous before the show because I know everyone has found their space and found where their energy will go. And I just need to make them happen. I just need to build a stage. I just need to build a foundation for everyone to keep doing what they love. So
keep finding the funding.
Yeah, that's one thing.
That's your role.
That's one thing. And sometimes, holding the relationship, together. That's another thing, and grow with the musicians in the same time, because they've been, they've been challenges. They've been, arguments and different
Ideas
of course,
and thoughts,
different ideas.
Human nature.
It's a group of people coming from so different different ideologies, and sometimes for me is to really think about what everyone wants and make that happen.
Well, we're running short on time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Time flies.
Yeah. We're having a good conversation. It was very fast. So, I want to thank you for sharing your journey, and I'm very excited to see what you guys are going to continue to create for the world to see, and bring about awareness on indigenous cultures and communities, the Polynesian, Austronesian connection, and our islands, as global warming is so prevalent. Every year it's getting worse. But I do usually end my conversation by asking my guest a few questions. So I will ask you these questions, and then you can feel free to answer it as you wish. Usually I always ask, the individual when they're going through things, or like you said earlier, you were lost for a few years trying to find yourself. What books or things did you do, or people that you met kind of helped guide you, if there were any? And your answer could be just like, I just traveled, and travel was my inspiration, so I encourage you to travel with no boundaries, or something like that. So that's the first question. And the second question is, what keeps you grounded? Like on your day-to-day, and oftentimes people will say, I meditate, I do yoga, I go for long runs, or I listen to music that I like, that keeps me, centered and grounded. And the last one is, what advice would you give your younger self, what advice would you give your younger self now that kind of like in hindsight, your journey, or for those who are listening to this particular episode, what advice would you give them if they resonate with your story?
Okay.
Yeah.
What was the question?
I'll repeat them. I know I always do this. I just kind of blah 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 blah, and I'm like, and then there's first one was like, what resources, if there was like books or people,
right.
or
Yeah. For me, it's throwing myself to the unknown. I think that always gives me extra push or excitement to see things in a very different way. And now looking back, I'm really glad that I throw myself, backpacking when I was feeling really lost. And now looking at the where we're going forward with the project, that actually becomes something very important. Like every time we try to create a new album or create a new show, we try to do things in a very different way. Like I just mentioned how we produced the first album, but the second album was actually completely different because of the pandemic, and we still want to create. So we did everything virtually, everything online. So nothing was in person. And now the third album, which we start this year, we gonna bring the core group of musicians and visiting each other's islands, and actually sit on each other's homeland and create songs together. And that itself is very different, because although we've been traveling around the world to America and Europe and lots of places, but we've never been to each other's homeland together. And that itself is very unknown, in the same time very exciting for everyone. And now it's beautiful, because it's not just me that feeling unknown. We're stepping out of ourselves, but it's also the musicians. Yeah. And the second one,
What keeps you grounded?
Yeah. I think is I think it's very funny, but for me, is eating vegetable.
Eating vegetables? Okay, great. Well, after we finish recording, we're going to eat some vegetables.
Eating leafy green vegetable. And that always makes me feel grounded because I grew up on an organic farm. My dad is an organic farmer. And I grew up just picking up veggie from our land. So our musicians always made fun of me, like, oh, she just eats kale on tour while everyone's eating donuts and bagel. Yeah, and that's me.
That's a very cute answer and a first for me on my recordings with guests from around the world. I love it. And we'll use that as an example in the future when I ask this question. And then the last one is, what advice would you give either to your younger self or to others who feel very inspired by your journey listening to this episode?
I would say echoing to the how you started this podcast. Find your tribe and build one. Like I think when you have a dream, draw a circle as big as you can so there's space for others to come in. And in the same time, be very open to the unexpected. There might be people coming in and shape this circle. And now I think Small and Big Song is not just a circle. It's not just a big circle, but it's a space with all different types of shapes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, is that right? It's a circle. It's a space
all
with
shapes and sizes.
Yes.
All shapes and sizes.
Yeah, all shapes and sizes.
Yeah.
And learn how to not see yourself like the center of everything, although we have to be confident about what we do, but in the same time learning how to let go of your expectation and let yourself sometimes open to what others can bring to you. And that I think that's when you can learn the most. You can grow the most.
That is very, very true. Well, I don't know. Is there anything else you want to add to our conversation today? When will the next album be dropping?
We will be touring our concert to many other countries. Korea, Abu Dhabi, around America. We're touring around America next spring.
Okay, 2024.
2024 from February to April. We're touring to 18 different performing arts centers. You can find the dates on our website, and I would love to meet you in person if you're around.
Okay, so I will put all the all the resources, so people on their episode links, so people can find you guys on social media and your website,
just come and
contact and know where you're touring to go watch the concert. And I'm very excited to see the next concert and to see what else you guys are going to be doing. So thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's been wonderful talking to you.
that's all we have time for today. Thank you for listening to Curito Connects. For more Connects content, collaborations, and discoveries set to inspire you on your own individual journey, please head to our website at www.curito.co. Until next time, stay inspired and thank you for joining us at Curito Connects.